You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving—
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody
You
said
can
an
do your
inconvenience.
job and
He have a
practice
responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the
Through due
president is
process.
going through that process right now.
We are
And
not
let's
just—
be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo.
All right, pause right there, because what you are about to watch is a masterclass in political evasion. A Republican congressman asked a painfully simple question. How much money are you spending on illegal immigration? And suddenly, Democrats developed amnesia, budget blindness, and a PhD in dodging. Billions of dollars flying out the door. No receipts, no tracking, no answers, but don't worry. They assured us the vibes are great. You had governors admitting out loud that they don't track how much taxpayer money goes to people here illegally, while simultaneously begging the federal government for more cash. That's like maxing out your credit card, refusing to check the balance, and then asking your neighbor for a loan. And just when you think it can't get worse, someone decides to call ICE agents the Gestapo. Yeah, law enforcement doing their job now equals Nazis, apparently. That's where we're at. This clip exposes everything. The waste, the hypocrisy, the insults to Americans doing their jobs, and the total refusal to take responsibility. If that made your jaw drop, hit like, subscribe, and buckle up. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Your lady yields back chair, and I recognize Mr. Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. To piggyback off my colleague, Governor Pritzker, how much does the state of Illinois spend on illegal immigration every year?
Again, illegal immigration, that's a federal responsibility. They could tell how much is wasted as a result of their failures.
Governor, don't you keep track of how many people are on your Medicaid rolls, how many people who are illegal immigrants in the state of Illinois who are getting actually benefits in your state? Doesn't your government keep track of that?
They don't get Medicaid in Illinois or any state, as far as I know.
Governor Pritzker, you do not keep track of any public service dollars in the state of Illinois that goes to illegal immigrants or goes to people in your state who are not legal residents of the United States and of the state of Illinois. You don't keep track of that.
We absolutely keep track of our budget, and we're very closely, and in fact, it's been balanced for 7 years in a row, unlike the Republican before me, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I noticed that in the state of Illinois, you guys don't really keep track of your money, because I asked your mayor in Chicago similar question about a month ago, and he didn't have an answer. It was quite interesting. I think this might be an Illinois problem. Governor Hochul, in your state, you are spending about roughly $4 billion on illegal immigration. And at the same time, you are actually asking the federal government for $4 billion to finish Penn Station. Don't you think it would be better to stop funding illegal immigrants in your state and actually use those resources to finish Penn Station as opposed to coming to the federal government for the money?
Penn Station is owned by Amtrak, not by the state, so it's an appropriate use of their dollars, and Donald Trump has agreed to spend upwards of $7 billion. I appreciated that very much. What we spend on immigrants, the immigrants who are here hardworking to live a life and working on our farms and taking care of our parents in nursing homes and taking care of our children, they have been coming here for 400 years. And we don't keep track of individuals based on their status. We make sure that people have services so we don't end up with an unexpected.
So essentially what you're telling me is that you keep no track of money that is going to people who are not legal in the United States, resources that are taken away from New Yorkers, resources that are taken away from Illinoisans. You guys do not keep track of any of this.
You know what's really challenging is that many people came here with legal status. I mean, temporary protective status, 300,000.
Do you
all of a sudden they wake up one day and it's gone.
Do you go along with the strategy from the Biden administration, which massively expanded immigration protocols that overwhelmed your city and overwhelmed your state. Do you agree with that?
We call for secure borders. We call for this body to
I
do
never
its
remember
job.
you calling for secure borders at
No,
all, Governor Hochul.
We certainly have.
That
We
doesn't
certainly
sound
have.
like him to my
Many-
memory.
Many conversations I had with the White House. We asked for federal resources. I mean, you're putting a federal problem on our laps, and you know what? It gets old after a while. I wish you would just do your job.
If your
here
party
and
actually would
pass
do the job
meaningful
of
reform.
securing the nation the way President Trump has now had to do twice, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Wouldn't you agree?
It's a
Do you
federal-
agree or
it's a
disagree
federal
that
job.
securing the nation's borders is the job of the President of the United States? President Trump has done that job twice now,
Well,
and previous Democrat presidents have not done that job. Wouldn't you agree with that?
this has been a problem that's been in place since I was a young staffer here on Capitol Hill. We worked on immigration, and Ronald Reagan signed amnesty for 3 million people.
You know, it's
to
interesting
get
you
in
bring up
situations.
Reagan's amnesty in '86. You know, part of that deal was to actually build border wall and secure it, but the Democrat Party refuses to build border wall. You oppose it every single time. Is that your position? Do you now support border walls,
There
Governor
has
Hochul?
been many times when bipartisan legislation is presented to this body and people just walk away from it. They refuse to do the hard work of governing like governors like us have to do every single day. When I leave here, I'm going to go home and govern a state. I'm not going to tweet about this experience because I have too much work to do taking care of New Yorkers. And
You're
keeping
really
them
not doing a
safe.
good job, Governor Hochul, because a lot of New Yorkers are actually coming into my state, in Florida, many of them. They come all the time because they actually want to come to a state that is well-run, that protects citizens, does not allow illegal aliens to victimize citizens like they are victimized in the state of New York, like they are victimized in the state of Illinois, like they are victimized in the state of Minnesota. They choose states like Florida and Texas to find safer places to live and raise their families. Hold on, Governor Hochul. We've
our
had enough
crime
time.
rates are much
Governor
lower than
Walz, you've been
yours,
sitting over there
much
pretty
lower.
quiet. I got a question for you.
I love to talk. Thank you, Congressman.
Fair enough. You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving...
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody
You
said
can
an
do your job
inconvenience.
and
We have a
practice due process.
responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the
Through due
president is
process.
going through that process right now.
We are
And
not
let's be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo. Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point that you could tweet. I yield back.
Chair now recognizes Ms. Stansberry from New Mexico.
Now that you've seen the whole thing, let's be honest. Congressman Byron Donalds ran circles around them. Calm, direct, relentless, and all he did was ask questions any taxpayer would ask. How much money are you spending on illegal immigration? Do you track it? Do you know who's receiving benefits? And the answer, stripped of the word salad, was simple. No, they don't track it, they don't want to track it, and they definitely don't want voters to hear that out loud. The Illinois governor tried to hide behind a balanced budget talking point, which is hilarious when you can't even tell people where billions of dollars are going. That's not fiscal responsibility, that's vibes-based accounting. Then New York comes in admitting they're spending around $4 billion on illegal immigration while begging the federal government for more money to fix Penn Station. That's not compassion, that's mismanagement with a press release. And the excuses were almost comical. We don't track people by status. Translation: we don't track spending by reality. Meanwhile, citizens are losing resources. Cities are overwhelmed, and Democrats just shrug and say, well, it's a federal problem. Funny how it's a federal problem only when they're asked to explain the bill. Then came the real low point, calling ICE agents the modern-day Gestapo. That wasn't just wrong, it was disgusting. Congressman Donalds absolutely nailed it by calling that out. ICE agents are Americans doing a lawful job, enforcing immigration law. Comparing them to Nazis isn't edgy, it's reckless and insulting, and it shows how far Democrats are willing to go to score cheap political points. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. People are leaving states like New York and Illinois in droves. They're moving to Florida, Texas, and other Republican-led states because they want safety, order, and governments that actually prioritize citizens. That's not a coincidence, that's a scoreboard. This exchange wasn't about immigration policy details. It was about accountability versus excuses. One side demanded answers. The other side offered deflection, moral lectures, and historical nonsense. Congressman Donald stood up for taxpayers, law enforcement, and the rule of law, and Democrats exposed exactly why voters are done trusting them with the checkbook and the border.